This video, I'm going to talk about my biggest regret. This is something that has come up in the last week really to the surface and resulted in a lot of emotional pain, a lot of tears, and a lot of reflection, a lot of self-reflection onto myself, onto my past, onto how I want to live my life going forward. Now, first thing is, I'm not really a regretful person. Through my life, I always have gone through experiences, and no matter what happens, I accept the outcome. I'm just okay, or maybe I think I do. I don't know. I still get anxiety and things like that, but I've never had such a big regret as this, where it's really come to the surface and it's been very, very painful. A very strong pain and desire for something different. The desire to get back into the past, to change things, to have a different outcome, to do something different. So I'm just going to get straight into it because it's the only way I can really to explain this. Now, it's about a girl. So earlier this year, I met a girl, and she was a very phenomenal lady, and she's like nobody else I've met before. Her level of values, heart, kindness, personality, she was very special, and I have not met and never met anybody else really just like her. So, to put it simply, at the time I decided that I wasn't really ready for a relationship. And the reason for that is because the reason for that was really fear. And that's not something I realized until recently, that I was afraid to be in a relationship because I was insecure. I felt like I needed to do better, to be better, to have more success with women, have more experiences, that I couldn't settle at the age that I am at. And ultimately this was coming from a feeling of unworthiness, a feeling that I'm not good enough as I am. However, at the moment, this wasn't something that I consciously thought. In fact, abstracted over that, really the mind rationalized all these reasons. And so I didn't really realize fear was the underlying issue. There's more, so at the time I didn't really realize fear was the underlying issue. There's more like a thought that, okay, if I get into a relationship now, I haven't had enough experiences, and so I need to have more experiences before I can really know. Now the thing about experiences is this never-ending bar of, and this is all areas of life, this desire for success. It's a never-ending bar. You get a certain amount of money, you want more money, you want more money, you want more money. Same thing with women in relationships. You're like, oh, I want more girls, more success, more validation, approach more girls, get more confident, be better in more situations, have less anxiety. Because you come from such a place of lack where you've experienced so much emotional pain that you have this desire for perfection, have this desire to kind of perfect yourself, perfect this character, right? And it wasn't until last week that I really realized that. You also have people in the communities, like the male communities, red pill communities, pickup communities, that say things like, you shouldn't settle for, the first girl or one of the first girls you meet, or you really should have a lot of experience dating lots of women to actually know before settling in a relationship, things like that. Because they see a lot of guys like settling based on insecurity in the first relationship. But the problem here is like these are just these concepts, these ideas. They pollute your mind because they're not real. They're coming from people's experiences that aren't really true to what you are experiencing. And they cause you to be stuck in the mind. They cause you to contract. They cause you to stop appreciating what is. They stop you from appreciating the romance that you do have, the experience that you do have, the love that you do have. And so what ended up happening is that my mind created some delusions. It started to have this 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing. Like after I didn't pursue a relationship with her, I was like, fuck, this is one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. But then I decided, hey, like, I'm going to try to like improve my confidence, improve my game, approach more women in these next few months and go hard on it, but in those 3 months then I wanted to get where I want to get basically, and then settle down, hit her up and see if she's still open. Those 3 months passed and I didn't feel like I was where I wanted to be, so that ended up moving to 6 months. I told myself, okay, in another 3 months, then I'll do it. So, ended up being 6 months. But over the time, I started to like block myself off more and more from even thinking about it. It was kind of like I was procrastinating on even thinking about it, even thinking about the problem. And also delusional and somehow thinking that everything is going to work in my favor, the universe is going to line up, and when I hit her up, she's going to still be single and still willing to see me, which were not, not valid, and not even kind of respectful actually. So yeah, that delusion perpetuated in my mind, and when you're afraid, you rationalize so many things in your mind, and you start to create so many stories and delusions. And so it ended up being, actually around 6 months, then shit started to hit the fan actually in my life. Like lots of different things happened, from like moving to work to lots of like conflicts and problems and issues. And so I kept procrastinating on it. I kept saying, okay, in the future. But I still wanted to really hit her up. It ended up being 8 months that I stuck with this thing that I was going to hit her up. This idea in my mind. It ended up being 8 months before I messaged her. And she said she is really happy in a relationship, which I'm actually happy for. Like, I'm happy for her. But that was really painful for me to hear. It was really painful. Because although I didn't realize it, I was still mentally back right where the last time I'd seen her. And I was still attached to that image of like being in a relationship with her, wanting her. I was still attached to that. I had not let her go in my mind. So even though it had been time, I had not let her go in my mind because I had kept with that thing. So it actually felt like no time had passed. As soon as I messaged her and got that response, it was like I was flooded back with memories that I had in a sense suppressed, and it felt like I was right back in that moment. And yeah, it was really painful and really showed me a lot of delusions, I guess. A lot of things where I was afraid, a lot of things I could work on, a lot of fears, you know, that had risen to the surface about like being vulnerable with somebody, being in a relationship, being worthy, being liked. And so that 3 months was really like, okay, I want to exhaust this out of my system. I want to exhaust this pattern, because I wanted to basically be in a relationship where I didn't have to think about what if, or did I miss out on these things. And this is really the catch-22. This is really the suffering, because I think it's common for people in a relationship to feel like they want to be out of a relationship and talk to other girls. A friend of mine is experiencing this right now. When you have it, you want something else. When you don't have it, you want it. So on both ends of the coin, you're really suffering. You're wanting something else that isn't what you have, and you're not grateful for what you have either. But for me, it's like I want to be grateful for all the experiences I have. I don't want to be stuck in the mind. I don't want to look back. And I think this experience, although it's painful, I think it's going to be really beneficial for me moving forward, because now I know the dissatisfactoriness that comes with this idea that the grass is greener on the other side, or that you need more experiences, this false narrative that the bar should always be raised, that you need more girls, more this, more that. It's really an illusion, and it causes a lot of suffering, I think, people. Now this story, as you might think, this story, might be unique to me, but I messaged a number of my friends and told them the story, and some of my older friends especially, and the same thing they experienced the exact same thing. At times they've had it, so they've, moved on from a girl, and then, for example, one of my friends broke up with the girl and then realized, no, he actually was in love with her, and tried to get her back, but that didn't end up working. And then she moved on. Same thing happened with another friend, and then he even said that the girl did that to him at one stage as well. So it works both ways, and I even know a female friend, acquaintance, that rejected the guy that was really into her, and then a year later she realized she was really into this guy. They had known each other since like quite a young age, and the reason she had been so cruel to him when she rejected him was actually out of this fear that she had. And so unfortunately, when she went back to, when she cleared that issue up, she realized that, like, I don't know, like a year or whatever later, he had actually moved on mentally. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. This is the world we live in, the suffering world. They want something different that pushes people away, is afraid to connect with people. And it's not just a male problem, it's a male and female problem. It's, the fear to be intimate with people. And I think when I look now, after having this experience, when I look at society, a lot of the modern dating culture is focused on that aspect of hiding yourself and putting up some falsity, some persona, because you want to be liked, because you want to be validated, because you want to be loved. But the only way you can be loved is by being open. And to be open, you have to remain undefended. And when you're undefended, you can be hurt. You can feel emotions. You can feel emotion from the heart. But you can only perceive love when you are undefended. When you aren't trying to put up some persona, when you aren't trying to defend yourself.
Your hands upon a dead man's gun and you're looking down the sights.
So the catch-22 is this. It's the feeling that, like, if I got into a relationship with her back then, I'd be thinking, what if with other women? What if I had these other experiences? What if I knew more? What if this wasn't the right outcome? What if this wasn't the right thing? Like, there's some answer here. Like, there's this, here's how I know when I could be in the right relationship. But there's no fucking answer, is there? There's no answer. There's no, hey, now you're going to know. Now you're going to be happy if you do A, B, and C. I think the education system tricks us into thinking that this is how all of life operates, because we're so conditioned into answering questions on a test. So we think it's sort of a yes or no, right or wrong type situation. Another thing I realized is you never know what could happen, and you also never know if you'll get what you want. It's easy to feel entitled to certain things in our lives. We feel like, I'm gonna get the money, I'm gonna get the relationship, I'm gonna get these things. But who's to say you're gonna get them? That's entitlement. That's thinking and being attached to some possibility of the future that isn't real. What's real is right here, right now. That's the only thing that's real. But the mind is afraid of that. The mind wants to cling on to something. So it clings on to images of the future. It clings on to, now I'm going to achieve some result, or I'm going to get the relationship I want. I don't know, maybe after this I'll never get a relationship or meet a girl as good. It's possible. It's possible I'll never meet any girl. It's possible I'll never get into a relationship or get married. So those are all possibilities, right? But part of acceptance is accepting everything the good and the bad, what could happen, what could not happen, being okay with that. And so I don't want to move forward with some further delusion where I'm thinking, oh no, it's going to be fine. You know, this thing that, you go for a breakup and your friend's like, oh no, it'll be good, you'll meet somebody else, trying to make you feel better or whatever. The common trope, right? But the common trope's not helpful. It's making them feel good in the moment, but it's still predicated on that attachment to some false ideal future that does not exist. And when we live in these false ideals, when we live in these false futures, we're predicating our minds to suffer, to be dissatisfactory, and to not appreciate what we do have. So the fleeting moments I had with this girl, I will cherish, and that's why I wanted to make this video, to talk about it with other people, because I think it's something I haven't heard many people discuss, but I think it's something, actually when I talk to people face to face, it's something that is very, very common. So I wanted to talk about it in that regard, but then also like send out some gratitude to the world. These experiences, these learnings that I'm going through.
About to come into the light.
Just having a moment to cherish and remember the little time I did spend with her. So thank you. So want a relationship, to not want a relationship, to know the perfect times to get into a relationship, the perfect age to get into a relationship. When I look online, that's what I see. When I see people talk about this shit, it's so conditioned. And the conditioning really fucks you up, bro. It really fucks you up. All I can say is the best thing to be is unconditioned. The best thing to do is to let go of these belief systems, let go of these delusions, let go of... just let go, bro. I spent so much of my life investing emotional energy into doing everything right, and to try to be perfect, and to trying to time everything, and to trying to not make mistakes. But I've made a lot of mistakes recently. In every area of my life, I've been making mistakes. And I think the universe is trying to show me to embrace that. I've made these mistakes, I've done things, and when I've done them I've wished, man, I wish I didn't do that, I wish I did something different, I wish I knew. But hindsight is in retrospect. It's always that catch-22. You never know until you know. And so to not continue to suffer, you have to accept the mistake, or the thing that you thought is a mistake. You have to accept it. You have to become okay with it. And if I had to say two things this girl has taught me indirectly, she probably doesn't realize this, but it would be the heart and acceptance. Those are two things this event has really taught me. And then realizing what I want. I don't want this. I don't want this thing that everyone is trying to act like you want. Like, just be another guy trying to get laid, get a lot of chicks. That's like what everyone's trying to say you should have. But that's not what I want. It's not what I want. So at least now I think from this I know what I want a bit more. And in the future, I'll make sure that I appreciate and cherish every moment. Every moment.
Quite common in Australian school playgrounds.
Really? There's so many of them, eh?
You don't have ants in New Zealand?
Oh yeah, we have ants.